So Sandy, tell us a little bit about Andrew's Powder Coating, where you're located, and all that you guys do there. You do a lot of different things for it.
Yes, so we have been under current ownership since 1991. We were
Hmm.
started in 1980
Hmm.
and purchased by current owner in 1991 and running it ever since then. We are in Chatsworth, California, which is in the greater Los Angeles area. So we sit almost literally on the Ventura, Los Angeles County line, and we're able to service um, all of Southern California down to the border and even west. And we're starting to see a lot of product come in from the east because of our architectural certifications and our
Right,
military certifications.
right.
So it's a great location to be in. Um, California and Los Angeles in general is very difficult to have a business in, but we keep treading water and, here we are.
Right. Well, it's I think that when I was out there years ago, gosh, I want to say it was 7, 8, maybe years ago. You had just were moving into that facility, I believe, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it was a bigger facility for you because you all want to do a lot more things. So, yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
So we started out in, I call it our little tiny rat shack. And it was one industrial building, about 1,700 square feet down on DeSoto and Plummer here in
mhm,
Chatsworth. And we outgrew that into 2 units and then into 3 units.
mm,
And in or around 2002, we had a consulting company come in and um, offer to guide us along the way. And I accepted their help, and they were there every single Monday morning at 6 to kind of train me how to run the company. And they encouraged us to grow and they encouraged us to move. And so after 28 years in that same location, we moved to a little bit bigger of a building. And of course, we were very nervous. Moving is very expensive, and
right.
we were very nervous. But as within 90 days of moving, the
Hmm.
savings in labor alone
Wow.
paid for the move. So
Wow.
instead of people walking from unit to unit to unit to get their jobs done, we were all under one roof, and it just I, I wondered why we didn't move so much
Didn't do it sooner.
before
Yeah.
that, but that's
Right.
how it happened. And then we were in that building for 10 years and we moved into this building because in order to be certified by the powder manufacturers for AMA 2605, we had to bring all of our pretreatment in-house. So
Gotcha.
in
Mm,
the first 3 years of our AMA 2605 certifications, we were permitted to use an outside vendor, but they weren't excited about it and
mm,
wanted all of the control under our company. So that's what
right.
we did. We made the jump, and it was a huge jump, but
Mm,
it's paid off, and we're doing great.
right. Yeah. One thing that is always I've noticed about you all that has set you all apart from I think any typical powder coating operation is you all go after the certifications and approvals, which two things are not easy to do and are not cheap to do.
Yes.
So, did that come back from that training you talked about that your consultant was telling you to do this, or when did you guys decide that that was something you were really going to set yourself apart by obtaining all these?
Well, what had started to happen is when we were still in our first building, the San Fernando Valley was filled with powder coaters, like almost on every corner. I mean, they were
Right.
everywhere. And what would happen is buyers would go from finisher to finisher and take nickels off of parts, and all the
Right.
powder coaters were arguing about it. And Scott and I just knew that there had to be a better way.
Right.
And we wanted to set ourselves apart. And that's what started us to get focused on. Back then we were focusing on motorcycle and car parts and doing
Right.
commercial work on the side. And we just decided that we were never going to make it in the finishing business if we continued to go down that road. And we didn't want to fight for nickels anymore. We wanted to set ourselves apart and make the barriers to entry really difficult so that
Right.
we could be who we are and where we are today and have people want careers here. So
Hmm.
that was our ultimate goal, was to give people an opportunity to spend their life working here and have it be very fulfilling with what we produce.
Right, right. Yeah, more of a career, because it is a skill that's people that do it right. It's a tremendous skill to be able to do that. But yeah, let me ask you a question. I guess when you're talking about taking the approach of certifications, it seems to me it involves three things. Facility, you have to have a facility that can handle this. You have to have the equipment that can handle what you need to do, like you said, the washers and such. You have to have the personnel. So where do you start with that? What were you? I know you guys have moved and got into bigger spaces, but where did you start in that scheme of things? Would it be the facilities and make sure you had the right space, or
Gosh, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say that it started with our team.
right? Oh,
We,
convincing them,
no,
or
no, it wasn't much convincing.
okay.
They were ready to go. They were.
Hmm.
We have very strong team members. They were all
Hmm.
very happy about the growth opportunity. They knew what it meant for them. They were all
Hmm.
in, standing next to us every step of the way, and they allowed us to produce the money it took to start
Right,
saving for equipment and saving for building jumping. And
right.
this is our final resting place where we're at right now. But
Okay.
I'm going to hand it all to them. They
Right,
really, their tenure here and their knowledge allowed us to take risks and not fail.
right,
So
right.
that
You
is where
mentioned,
it's.
yeah, I was gonna say that's a tremendous, to have them, really believe where you're going with this, right? And like I said, it takes time and money to do all this stuff, and you just got to stick with it, with that. You talked about ALMA certification, which is difficult to get. And how many years have you all had that now? That's been
We've had it for 8 years now.
8 year, and you get asked to, you get tested on it every year, correct? Is that pretty
Every
much?
single year. And the
Yeah.
most stringent testing manufacturer is AkzoNobel, who
Mm-hmm.
sets the bar standard for FGIA. So
Mm-hmm.
when FGIA sees that anybody is certified by AkzoNobel, it's impressive. Their
Right.
testing mandates that once a year you send in um, 6 to 10 coupons per week for 6 weeks in a row.
Mm.
So
Wow.
they're testing consistency to make sure that, the things tested on week 1 are the same as the things tested on week 6. And if they're not, they'll pull your certification.
Right.
No
Wow.
other manufacturer tests that stringent. They'll come in for one testing, but they all do
Right.
it. It is an annual certification for every single manufacturer, and we do always pass with flying colors. So
Right.
again, I'm going to hand that to our team for really paying attention and doing what it takes consistently to keep us certified.
Right. Yeah. That's like I said. That's one of the things, is that get the certification, but then to be consistent every single day, of giving the exact same product, exact same process, following the steps that need to be done to, that your customers are going to demand of you. Now that you are in that air, you're in that kind of a rare air where you've got all these certifications. And I know you guys. It's funny. I don't know a lot of powder coating operations that do meet a lot of the mill specs, or even do the CARC. I mean, those again are things that I don't even know what the market holds for those. But again, you all train very hard to get that as well, right? I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah. And we can touch on the different certifications, CARC especially,
Yeah,
if you
well, let's
want
go
to get
through
into
this for a bit. Like you said, because one of your first, I guess, was it Alma? One of the first ones that you got from the.
our AMA 2605 was the first certification we got.
Okay.
And then we went after the AS 9100. And getting AS 9100 certified is, oh gosh, it's ungodly expensive. And we decided to do it right when COVID struck.
Mm, yeah.
And so, I mean, we decided to start doing it, and then COVID struck.
Right.
And
Right.
we needed to just stay the course and
Hmm.
continue down the road. We had the consulting company that I mentioned earlier that had started with us in 2002 was still holding our hand all these years later. And
Hmm.
they had sent a QMS consultant named Brian Buss to us.
Hmm.
And he walked us through our AS 9100 prep and
Right.
certification, which took about a year to do. And
Wow.
after Brian's contract was up with CMTC, that's our consulting company,
Hmm.
we retained him.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, Brian is our on staff quality management consultant. And
Okay.
um, yeah, we kept him.
Wow. So I mean that certification, the 9100, that does put you in direct connection with primes, right? I mean, that's really kind
Yes.
of that's the level of people you're dealing with now, right?
Yep.
Of
It
that.
lists us on a system called Oasis.
Hmm.
And Oasis is the center where all the primes go to find, if they need a powder coater, they go to Oasis and they type in powder coating and we'll pop up.
Gotcha. Gotcha. We talked about the CARC, the chemical resistance for the military coatings. Is that a lot of your business, or how much is that really for what's going on with
CARC
that? No.
currently is very little of our business.
Right.
And I've
Yeah.
had some discussions with Tiger Drylac, who is probably the largest CARC supplier of powder coatings. And I've asked why we're not getting so much business, even though we've been listed for, gosh, about 4 years now. And it's mainly because the military has still liquid specifications on all their
Right.
drawings, and the military is very nervous about changing from what's tried and true to something
Right.
that's new, even though it's more environmentally safer for both the applicator,
Right.
um, the finishing houses, the environment. They're just nervous, but we are starting to see the tides
Right.
change. And I think in the next 1 to 3 years, our CARC business will grow
We'll pick up with that.
exponentially.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like I said, you've got the military specs, the mil specs and the Nav Air, Nav C, those type of. When did you start going after that type of work and developing that into your qualifications and certifications?
Well, we actually started doing those kinds of things probably 20 years ago.
Okay.
And although it was very minimal because we weren't AS 9100 certified at the time, we were able to be self-certified by the second tier contractors. So like
Hmm.
Raytheon wouldn't do business with us directly, but their subcontractor could
Would.
contract with us and then certify to Raytheon under their AS 9100
Hmm.
veil.
Right.
Um, but
Yeah.
that's kind of they don't like to see that, which is what instigated us to go ahead and get the certification ourselves.
Gotcha. Right. Right. Yeah. Well, actually, a ton of certifications there, and I know you sent me a note earlier. You all do reinvest back into the company with equipment, right? I know you've got something I was looking at was the evaporator, right, which I wasn't even familiar with, but to really keep the powder in a consistent thing. Talk about some of that of putting money back into the facility, back into the equipment. I mean, I know a lot of shop owners that like to take that money and buy a boat. Obviously, like I said, you put it back in, and it seems like you all have realized you're going to get more back out of
Yeah. So in reference to boats, we have the saying here that the best boat is your friend's boat.
that. True, true. Your point,
So
yes.
with that aside, just in the last year, we have purchased and installed a brand new Kaiser 50 horsepower compressor. We actually
Hmm.
just had that installed on like December 31st, if you will,
Gotcha.
of
Hmm.
2023, and it was in operation when we came back to work on January 2nd. It came with a Secotech refrigerated air dryer, which removes condensation
Mm,
from all the airlines. So a lot of finishing
really?
shops
Okay.
have airlines. That's what we use
Right.
to power our shops. But when you compress air, it turns into a liquid. And
Yeah.
so now
Right.
they're blowing air right into their clients' parts and then putting a finishing right over the top of it.
Right.
So
Right.
you can
Doesn't
see
seem
where
like it's
that's.
logical to do. Yeah.
So
Right.
all of our air is dried. It's run through
Hmm.
4 different filters before it ever gets to somebody's part. That's in all of our sandblasters, both of our powder coating booths, and everywhere else around the shop that uses compressed air. Um, our ovens and spray booths are cloud based, monitored 24 hours a day. That
Mm.
had to happen under the AS 9100 certification so we can see fluctuations and inconsistencies in
Right.
temperatures and humidification as well in the spray booths.
Right.
Um, we got in fall of 2023, we got a brand new evaporative cooler, which is a humidifier. And
Mm.
powder coating shops should be held at about a 30% humidification. And here in Southern California, trying to attain that humidity is difficult.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so we finally bit and did it. And it's just, we've always been known for good quality, but this piece of equipment has just,
Right.
we
Taking
like,
it up.
it
Yeah.
has just taken it up another level. We don't see reworks. We've had very few internal reworks anyway, but now we have almost none.
Right.
Less
Right.
than 1% over the last 2 years of any kind of rework internally.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
That's great to do. Yeah.
it is great, yeah. So it creates reverse air pressure and it keeps contaminants down, um, and creates a positive air pressure within our building.
Right.
It
Yeah. Hmm.
also, as a side effect, keeps our building cooler. So that's,
Oh.
yes.
Right. Right.
So
Where you
that's
can
us.
really get high temperatures, especially for your employees. I mean, who are going to be there.
Yeah. I mean, they're
Right.
standing out there all day with two 400-degree ovens blasting air all day. And in the
Right.
summertime, it's unbearable. But now with the new humidification system, it's it's livable. I mean,
Right.
they can enjoy their job a little bit
Right.
better.
Without melding with that.
Um, so over the last year, we've also bought 2 brand new GEMA finishing guns.
Hmm.
Um, one of them is a very specialty gun used primarily for specialty aerospace equipment, and the other one is our everyday gun that we use for everything else. But they're pretty high tech, and
Right.
we've had really good success with them. We've
Right.
installed a completely new technology center with all brand new phone system, intercom system. We've armed our team with um, iPads so that we can work on a CODA system and have them move things that were under their responsibility to the next person's, and anybody can open it up and see where the project is at and where it's going next. Um, we put some team applications on those iPads as well so that they can snap photos out in the shop and send them directly to
Mm-mm.
our production manager and get direction on what to do with certain things if they're unsure. Masking, things like that, where they're not walking all the way up to our office just to ask us something.
Just ask. Right. Yeah. That's very much a time. Yes.
So
Definitely.
yeah. So gosh, about a year ago, we built an on-site space lab. So we've
Mm.
encapsulated an area in our upstairs mezzanine for a secured space lab, and it's very clean up there, and yeah, it's very secure as well. And so we have a whole team of people working up there on. Um,
And what are they doing in there? Just or is it,
we do a lot of satellite parts
gotcha.
for
Gotcha.
for direct prime
Right.
contractors. So yeah, that's
Right.
about all I'm about
Gotcha.
able to
Well,
say on that.
it's funny because it's funny, and I'm working on a story I'm running next week about how a lot of, and this is related to plating and anodizing parts, where they're doing work for. I'm just going to throw out some names, Raytheon, some other things, where they are now being held to a higher standard through IT and security because they can
Yes,
have direct communication. And so I know I just talked to a shop in Florida, an anodizer who spent upwards of $400,000 on his IT improvements and all these things. I was shocked to figure out or to hear what he was talking about. It was like, you got to be kidding me. But these are the new requirements with that. Um,
yes.
I was going to ask you, I mean, a lot of things that you're buying and the equipment you're putting back in, it's unique in that it's not like it's going to, um, and I know a lot of people will say, "Well, I'm spending money. I'm going to put a new line in, right?" Because they know they're going to get an ROI real quick, right? This isn't anything that's really going to per se put parts through fast or anything. This is really to improve quality of the existing systems that you have, right? Which is a tough nut to bite sometimes when you're going to pay for that kind of stuff, and you're saying, I'm putting this on an existing line, but you've got to do it right to keep contaminants out, reduce rejects, things like that. And I know that a lot of owners just won't do that, and it's just something that if they're not going to see that line or whatever that piece of equipment, bring them back more money directly, they won't often do it. But with this, it's really quality improvements that you're trying to get to
It is
is
a
at the
quality
level.
improvement, but we
Yeah.
can look at it in an ROI situation because let's say you have a batch of parts that gets rejected and you have to redo the parts. It
Right.
costs you 3 times. It costs you the
Mm,
time you did it the first time. It
right.
costs you the time you're doing it the second time. And it costs you by not doing what you should be doing by reworking these parts. So
Right.
there is a giant ROI,
Giant
especially
savings
with
with
a
that.
labor intensive company like finishing. To
Right.
pay
Right.
somebody to do something 3 times to get one order out is ungodly expensive, and it will
Right.
quickly pay for itself.
Right. Right. How many people do you all have there in your company working now with that?
We have 15.
Really? All that with 15 people? Okay.
Yep, all that with
Uh,
15 people.
right. Okay.
So
I mean,
I
certainly it seems like you've automated a lot of things that where you could, right? Or is it
our
still not Visomnic?
we're not automated at all. We've done some
Oh,
things
okay.
to improve some flow, but we don't have anything automatic here. We made our extrusion line where it has some chain driven automation, but it's we're still very heavy labor intensive. We're not going to ever change from that because we just know and believe that eyeballs on parts are better than blind guns on parts, and
Right.
we're just we're just going to keep going with that. We know our
Right.
consistency, and we know that we can trust the guys that are out there because they all own what they do.
Right, right. Speaking of that, I mean, that's something that you mentioned to me too. That like I said, a team of 15, but they are really, they're really embedded in your company. Like I said, you mentioned that the healthcare, you provide them all with that,
Yes.
401k, 5%. These are things that really are not happening in the finishing industry. Let's just say that, and sometimes in most manufacturing, it just doesn't really happen that way. Or companies just maybe try to get temp workers to do things, but it seems like you've made that commitment as well for the people that I know it's easier to keep people than to lose them and replace them, right?
Yes.
Is that kind of the thought behind that? Of
It's totally the thought. We
Mhm.
need, once they're trained, we want them to stay. And if they're going to stay beyond 90 days, we're going to offer them a blanket of benefits to continually train them
Mm.
and have them stay here. And we've had guys here for 20 years now, other than Scott and I. We have several techs that have been here for over 20 years, which is also
Mhm.
unheard of in any manufacturing or finishing industry. So we're pretty proud of that.
Right. How long would you say, when you, well, let me ask you, you said when you had the consulting company, what year was that you all kind of started that, would you
That was
say?
in 2002.
2002. So 20 some years, right? That
Yes.
this has been going on, and I know you're not done. I mean, if something else that you could probably find that would, another certification, you go after it. Um, still, you are the same managers that are running this. How has it been different from you all? I like you said, it was just sort of paint it and send it out the door. Maybe in the past, right? That's how some of the people were operating and everything. But for you all and your manager, you got some more managers there working. How's this been for you all to really learn and adapt? And I say to this is that yeah, you're doing powder coating, but more so you're running a manufacturing operation, right? Lean
Yes.
operations and how to do that. How have you all adapted to that? Because it seems like as you take it up a notch, you yourself personally have to take it up a notch and learn how to manage these systems and you know, all the certifications and where in the market you want to go and where you want to kind of stay away from and things like that. How's it been for you all to really to manage yourselves and how you're going as a manager of a company?
Honestly, it's been a little difficult. We
Hmm.
realized while we were growing that we needed to have a boss ourselves because we only knew how
Mm.
to grow to a certain point. And um, Brian, our QC consultant, has been really great at being kind of a good leader for us. And then we have each individually retained personal growth coaches as well on the outside who
Mm.
listen to and direct us on what to do next. So we meet once a week with a good board of people and uh, get our next steps down and continue to grow. And then we individually meet with private growth coaches as well to keep us going.
Mm. Interesting. Interesting. Are you handling most of the marketing of the company? Because of all the companies I see in powder coating, you all are probably the most well versed in how you present yourself and how you explain to the industry what you know what you can do for them. I mean, is that something you handle, or do you have other people that do that, or
Yep,
how's that
I
done?
handle all the marketing of our
Hmm.
company, um,
Right.
and I learned to do it, way back in the early 2000s on a shoestring budget because we just didn't have the money back then.
Right.
So,
Or the time to do
or
it.
the
Right.
time,
You
I
got it.
still rarely have the time, but
Right.
you have to make time and
Right.
um, and do it. So yeah, marketing. Um, I come from a background in observational marketing. I'll say I don't have formal education in it, but I know what people like to see. I know what
Hmm.
people's attention spans are. I know what they like to hear. So I'll just put little blurbs out so that they can do it and then continually repeat it because it takes people 3 times to see something.
Right. To
So
understand it, understand how it, yeah, exactly. You know, one thing I was thinking about all the certifications you have and which are, you know, and the approvals and the processes you've gone to, it behooves people that, you know, maybe they don't need a mil spec, they don't need an ALMA finish or anything, but yet they're still going to get that type of quality, right? They're still going to, you know, if somebody a customer come to you all and say, hey, I've got, you know, can we work on these things? They're still going to get a lot of that, of what the expectation you all have in the quality, right? I mean, that's
yes. Yeah, we have traceability on every single project, regardless if it's just a motorcycle frame or if it's something like satellite parts. It all is the same process, it's all the same quality. We don't shortcut just because somebody has a motorcycle frame or wheels. And we
right,
still will continue to get projects where people put quality above all else.
right,
Taking apart, I'm going to use the motorcycle example again. It is totally not our market. So I don't want to go down this road too much. But um, for example, Arch Motorcycle, which is
hmm,
a very high end motorcycle company out here in Los Angeles. It's owned by Gard Hollinger and Keanu Reeves. We do their
mm,
powder coating, and we do it
mm,
because they don't want to take apart a client's motorcycle to fix a failed powder coating job. It
right,
costs a lot of time, it costs a lot of money, and it ruins people's reputations. So
right,
they'd rather just pay what it costs to do the job correctly one time. They know with confidence they can put that motorcycle together and sell it for above market price
right,
to a consumer willing to pay for that. And those are the
right.
kinds of specialty projects that we do enjoy.
Right. Yeah, as I said, if that's the you know consciousness of somebody is that I want to get the very best I can possibly get out of this. I'm going to pay for it. It's going to take the time to do it, but I'd rather do it. And like I said, you know, with you all, you know, any manufacturer in the area who wants to come to you, they're still going to get all of those other quality perceptions that you all have because you do follow them every step you go along with this. I'm sure
Yes.
with everything. You know, thinking back, like I said, uh, you know. I don't want to ask you, has it all been worth it? Because you've done it. It's got to be worth it, right? What advice would you give anybody who's thinking that? And like I said, with the caveat, this is not a 1 year deal. This is not a 2 or 5 year deal. This is could be a decade, right? Of getting it right to do that. What advice would you give somebody who's got a shop, say, in North Carolina or Texas, and they're thinking, I want to be like them? What advice would you give them on
Um, hire a consultant.
that? To manage you and make you go through it, right? I mean, it's easy to shirk away from the thing, right? To say, I'm
Yeah.
not going to do that this week, you know,
Yep.
and to get somebody on you with that. Are you surprised that, like I said, and I've noticed this in seeing you, and I think, I would say maybe I've only seen 2 or 3 other shops in the country like this that take it like that. Are you surprised a lot more facilities don't try to achieve that high level that they possibly go? Again, we talked about it. It's time and money a lot of times to do that.
No, the barrier to entry is well over $1 million. So it is not a surprise at all. I mean, who has that?
Right.
No.
Well, if you budget to return it, though, that's the big thing. If you can space out and say how much you're going to get back with that with additional work, then it pays off. It's a normal business plan. But I think just some people, I don't know whether it's just they don't have the time or it's tough to do. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It is tough to do. All right.
Yeah.
It's not an easy process, and to be doing it, like I said, it takes years to get where you're trying to get to.
Right.
A lot
So
of those.
even
So
if somebody had several $1 million and they decided they wanted to open a finishing shop, they can buy all
with
the
all
equipment
those,
and they can get all the fancy stuff. But unless they have a trained team of people, they're going to experience massive amounts of failure. And a lot of people can't weather that storm. So,
right.
especially if you start, like, let's say they started with a building like ours, which is large, and they have the
Hmm.
overhead to pay whether they fail or succeed. Um, it it would be very difficult. So, for
Right.
example, if I had to start all over, I would probably start all over again in a 4,000 square foot building, and um, I would hire somebody like me to consult them on equipment setup, equipment operations, personnel operations, and growing from there. But starting at a high rate and then trying to figure it out along the way is just a way to go out of business, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like if you can eliminate mistakes and errors and things like that as much as you possibly can, you're going to get to success a lot quicker. I mean, but it still take time. But yeah, that sounds like that's what you're talking about of hiring somebody to really help you, who's going to help you not make some mistakes that they've already seen done. That they
Yes.
don't want you to go that way.
And we
Yeah.
do provide
That's.
consulting services for what it's worth.
I was going to mention. I did see that. You all. How long have you been doing that, and how's that going?
Well, we got certified by Intoda, which is an agency that qualifies you as an expert in your field. And so we have traveled to several places, both nationally and internationally,
Mm,
and have advised people on how to set up their operations, their equipment. We set up the first project we had was, gosh, almost 20 years ago. We set up a company in Trinidad Tobago called Panland, and they
wow.
were the original pan makers in Laventille, Trinidad.
Mm,
I mean, being the pan manufacturer of Trinidad is a feather in
big.
their cap, but they wanted
Yeah.
to do something different. And so he um, got together with us and he bought an entire powder coating system from us, and we shipped it down to Trinidad. And then we went down there and trained them and their team how to operate the equipment, and they changed pan. So to be able to change an instrument that is,
Mm,
you know, hundreds of years old is something so great. And,
right.
after Panland, we've done consulting in Mexico, we've done consulting in several locations around the United States and in Canada. And that's going great.
Gotcha. Great. Well, like I said, it's something that like I said, setting the bar high is something that I think you guys have always sort of try to achieve, right? I mean, and like you
Yes.
said, to really separate you from competitors, right?
Yes. Yeah. Invest in your team. That'd be, I guess, one of my better um, other than getting a consultant, but investing in your team is going to be their key to success.